Welcome to everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on this online event when ink can talk. And I have three lovely guests with me here this afternoon, and we know that you are going to really enjoy this insightful conversation. Now, my name is Shan Lee, and I'm a motivational speaker, a radio host, and an author. And I've recently written a fictional novel entitled Love Layer, which, although it is fiction, it has a lot of moral values. And as this this talk carries on, I know you're going to understand why fiction also plays a major influence in helping you attain a more balanced mental state and a positive lifestyle. So I hand over to Desiree, who's going to tell you a little bit about herself.
Thank you so much, Shan, and thank you for everyone who's joined today. My name is Desiree-Anne, and I'm an award-winning author and a poet, as well as a public speaker and a counselor in private practice. I'm also a wife, mother to a 13-year-old and a 14-year-old. No, that's not right. She's only 4. I wish she was 14. But she's also up for sale if anybody would like a 4-year-old. And I am also an active member of 2 NGOs, one that encourages healing through creativity, and the other one which focuses on the upliftment and empowerment of women. I've written my memoir, and I've contributed short stories to a few anthologies on issues such as feminism, racial identification, abuse, and also wrote the short story, a fiction short story about the coronavirus and how it impacted one girl whose father was an alcoholic during lockdown. I'm very happy to be here. I'm incredibly passionate about words and writing. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Thank you so much, Desiree.
Thank you.
And we all look forward to hearing more about your experiences and what we can learn from your experiences. So, Sibusiso, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Shan Lee, and thank you to everybody that is joining us. My name is Busiso Mazibuko. I am a founder of an organization, a youth-based organization, primarily for motivation. It's called SM Movement. I am an author of a book called See It, Have It. I am a forex trader mentor. My book is about just bridging the gap. As I said, that I have an organization, the SM Movement. So the primary aim is to just bridge the information gap, because I saw the gap that our youth, especially, they are not informed, and if they are informed, they are often misinformed. So for me, it's about just bridging that gap, and I hope that with me writing, I can actually achieve that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sibusiso, for joining us this afternoon. And Sarita, now over to you to introduce yourself to the participants and the audience.
Thank you, Shan Lee. And it's wonderful to be here. It's like virtual reality, so to speak. So I'm Sarita Mathur, and I'm the author of the book, Once Again Love, with the subtitle being Reconnecting with the Heart. Everything is about life-based and heart-based awareness, because eventually what you feel with your heart is what you attract into your life. My book, Once Again Love, was written at a very low point in my life. I fell down a flight of steps in London and had to have a back operation. Prior to that, I was teaching Reiki, and I was teaching workshops based on abundance and transformation. They were called The Caterpillar Has Become a Butterfly. I love that title, actually. But when I had the back operation, I came out of it the back operation was a success, but mind was gone, totally gone. I got out of it feeling totally depressed. It was a suicidal depression. And when I opened my eyes, I could hear voices in my head telling me that I must commit suicide. That was scary. I immediately called nurses and said to them that please tell my husband and my parents who were here in Durban to tell them actually that this is what I'm feeling. So they were totally shocked. And after that started my process of healing. I had to go for therapy. But besides the therapy, what really helped me was the healing and the visualization techniques, which I had actually learned. I was referred to a very good psychiatrist called Margaret Myers, who told my husband that your wife's had a brain attack. So you have to look after her. Because if she would have had a heart attack, you would have looked after her. So a brain attack is something which is not the fault of the person who's had it. So I had no medication worked on me. I had to go in for ECT. And within the second one, I was absolutely fine. I started started feng shui once again, visualization techniques, Reiki. And I came out of this terrible depression very quickly. I never had to go back to any kind of medication ever again. And I'm just so happy and I feel so fulfilled that I'm now leading the life which I always was meant to be. And this experience taught me, but that never be a victim. God is always with you. You can reach out to him at any time and journal, journal, journal. Write your feeling because ink can talk. Writing as a spiritual journey is what we are all about. Write your thoughts, read other people's work, and ink will talk. Thank you, Shan Lee, and thanks to everybody who's listening in and to my fellow participants.
Thank you so much again for joining us. And the next hour is going to be a wonderful hour with my three guests. And as Sarita has put it, ink definitely can talk. And in the next hour, we are going to have a very insightful and innovative analysis and inspection of how exactly it is that ink can talk. So sit back and enjoy and feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Thank you so much. And we will start with Sarita.
That back operation led to a feeling of deep depression and due to the drugs and anesthesia. So when I went in, I was still happy. I did have to have the back operation, but my mental state was good. But when I woke up with a deep feeling of wanting to commit suicide. So that really shocked me. And I then asked the attendants to call my husband and my parents and tell them that this is what I want to do. And of course, they just couldn't believe what was happening to me. I then had to have therapy, but through it all, I went in, I started channeling. So I would get up early in the morning and like thoughts would keep coming into my brain and I'd write. So I kept journaling my thoughts. And from this came a book called Once Again Love. And the subtitle is Reconnecting with My Heart. So I reconnected with my heart through the process of writing and journaling. And in the book, I talk about what I went through, how I first started feeling like I was a victim. And I called out to God and I said that why did he forsake me in this time of need? And why did he forsake me and give me up for dead? And God answered and he said, no, no, I did not forsake you. You are strong, you are powerful. I have given you the opportunity to practice what you preach. And you are preaching about love, about poetry, about reconnection with the heart. You want to motivate people. So delve deep within yourself and start doing what you teach. So God never forsakes you. Your life is like an inverted V. So even like a V for victory, you're going, from top to bottom and up again. But when you go the other way down, you go deep down into despair, but you know that life is an inverted V, so you can always come up again. And the act of writing and thinking, visualization, it helps you to do so. So that's what, and it's also taught me unconditional love and non-judgmentalism.
Thank you so much, Sarita, for sharing that with us. So if you have any questions about books and writing and releasing your negativity on paper, please feel free to write a question on the chat, and one of us will be more than welcome to answer it for you. Well, just a little bit of
the other one is yours.
just if everyone could mute their mics. Sorry, I'm using the computer for the first time. I'm not sure how to mute it as the host. If Anna can mute the mic.
I just used it.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Just to tell you a little bit about myself. When I was 12, I was diagnosed with epilepsy as well as a brain tumor. And for 10 years, I struggled with, I was really on my deathbed on many occasions. And the thing with epilepsy is that it is an illness, although a disability, it is an illness. When you are not having an epileptic seizure, you can completely comprehend what the people around you are saying. And I encountered experiences where during those 10 years of my high school life, those are your teenage years where you can be very much influenced. I had to bear people, constantly coming over as if someone had died and giving their sympathies to my family and saying that, oh, shame, we're so sorry this happened to your child. Her brain is now faulty. She will never marry. She will never have a job. She will never succeed. Now, obviously, for having to listen to this for 10 years and listen to your own family saying this to you for 10 years, it was a huge emotional trauma for me, which took another 10 years to overcome. And in those 10 years, which I tried to overcome it, I obviously went to a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists and different conventional methods of trying to regain a complete your wellness and a holistic development. But for me, those those conventional methods of attaining a positive mindset did not work. And it was one day that when I was lying on the beach and looking at a group of children, and I tried to think of when was the last time that I actually felt happy, this pure sense of happiness that no one else can describe, that I had not felt in years, and I truly had not felt that sense of happiness in 20 years. I realized it was when I was a child, and I realized that I needed to find that child within me. I needed to find who I really was again. So I realized that one of the things that I loved doing as a child was reading. And that is how I ended up getting this lovely collection of books behind me. And I went off after that beach and I was messed with sand, and I went straight to the bookstore and I bought myself a book, which was Little Woman by Louisa May Alcott. And that was one of my favorite books that I had been reading before the age of 12. So basically what I'm trying to say is, for me, those conventional methods were not working because my mind was on such an overdrive that I could not concentrate when I used to go to meditational sessions. When I could not concentrate because sometimes you have so many thoughts in your head that even though you are trying so much to focus on the person who is trying to lead you in the right direction, you just become overwhelmed with a million other things. So when I opened the book and you're reading the pages, sometimes you don't realize that actually just by reading, it takes you into another place. And all that's those negative thoughts that are just slamming you at a million, a million thoughts are just slamming you at the same time, and you can't, handle it. Just by reading, you are able to escape. And that ability to escape somewhere else is something that not many people talk about, but they don't realize how beneficial it was. And from reading, it was afterwards that I then started to just express my feelings on paper. And, after expressing myself on paper over those 10 years, it led to me writing my first fictional novel, which was released last week, and that was called Love Layer. So that's basically my story, and my story that I've written is a fictional story. It's not about my disability, it's not about epilepsy, it's not about all the trauma I went through. But I put my passion onto paper, and by putting my passion onto paper, that is how I was able to then find myself. I was able to find that happiness that I felt as a child. So basically, my message is also that it's not only about reading a motivational book or about reading about somebody else's trauma. Fiction can also help, and just by expressing yourself on paper, we do not realize how much of that negativity is actually coming out and being released. So that is very much my story, and something which I wanted all of you to hear. And if you have any comments, please share it in the comment section and tell us whether you agree or have any questions, further questions. So Desiree, I'm going to hand over to you and your experiences with how ink can talk and ink can speak, and how it has changed your life.
Thank you so much, Shan, and thank you for to everybody who is present here today. Yeah, I could read at a very young age, and I absolutely devoured anything that came my way. And simultaneously, I was growing up in a deeply dysfunctional family that was filled with addiction and lies and secrets and infidelity and codependency. And so reading to me was a form of escape from that, because as the title of my book that I had published, which is called We Don't Talk About It Ever, in my family, we weren't allowed to talk about any of the things that were happening, either to each other and definitely not to the outside world. So I had nowhere for all of the stuff that I was thinking and feeling to go. And so I delved into this world of escapism through books. And like the characters became my best friend, and I could be transported to different places and different times, anything except my reality. And I started my first, I still have it because I've kept all of them, my first secret diary at the age of 9. And I started writing then, because as I was reading as well, I started to realize that I could write too, that I had this capacity to write what I was reading. So I started journaling and keeping diaries from a very young age. And so that is where all of those emotions and all of those observations and all of those thoughts, like you say, that were coming at 1,000 kilometers an hour, they went onto the page, and they still do. I had a break from it for a few years because I was in active addiction. I'm a recovering addict. But when I got into recovery, the first thing they do in rehab is ask you to write your life story. So then I started writing again, and I realized the power of both writing for the sake of writing, but also about writing your truth. And I'm very passionate about that particular aspect of writing. And in my therapeutic practice, I also encourage my clients to journal, because I feel that that type of self-expression, which often also becomes creative self-expression, is a very important part of the therapeutic process, and helps with loads of things, from anxiety to obsessive thinking to pretty much anything, all compulsions. If you put it on the page, it comes out of here, and it's in a tangible form, and it's so that you can work with it much better. And in terms of my writing, I write poetry, and quite honestly, I write everywhere. I write on my phone, I write in between at breaks at work, I write at night. I write in the bathroom. Yeah, I just write all the time, and so I write micro poetry and poetry, and I publish that on my Insta page and on my blog, and then I also contributed short stories to a few anthologies, South African anthologies, one around feminism and one around abuse and one around the coronavirus. And yeah, so I love words. I have a saying that I used to be a heroin addict, but now words are my drug of choice. That and yeah, because that, and I have a love affair with the English language. So yes, I published my memoir, and I'm busy working on another book now. But I'm always writing, and I feel, and I'm always encouraging other people to write and to write their truths as well, because I feel that that is very powerful.
Thanks so much, Desiree, for sharing that with us. So obviously, as we said, our presentation today is When Ink Can Talk or When Ink Can Speak. So we would like you to also to speak and share with us on your chat what you think about what you're hearing, whether you agree, disagree, if you have any questions. So please share it with us, and we would love to try to give you our perspective of it as authors, and all of us being people who are trying to motivate others and help in assisting everyone to attain a more balanced lifestyle. So I'm going to hand over to Sibusiso, and Sibusiso has a very, very interesting story to share. And I think, you know, not many men share their stories, and I have the greatest admiration for his tale and how it is that he started off his movement for youth. So go ahead, Sibusiso.
Thank you, Shan. And thank you to everybody that's here. For me, I believe that writing for me was, as everybody has said, it was an escape. Because I didn't start as a writer. I started with spoken word in primary when we were attending cultural festivals, and then it graduated to public speaking when I got to high school, and then hence right now I've written a book. The title of my book is See It, Have It. It's actually about whatever you can see in your mind, you can actually attract it, and when you attract it, you can actually have it in the real world. So it's See It, Have It. It for me it was too personal at first, because I have a lot of adventures other than just being an author. I have a lot of personal adventures that I'm pursuing and everything. So I coming from the background that I come from, you're limited to choices, you're limited to options that you can get. You have this point. Success is measured by the way people view success on their own terms. You don't have your personal success. You have success as the way people value and view success. So for me to actually write this book, it was to say to everybody who's disadvantaged, coming from disadvantaged backgrounds, having all of those things that are hindrances to a successful future. It is to say your condition is not your conclusion, because that's what is written on the back of my book. It says your condition is not your conclusion. Whatever you're going through, whatever you've been through, it is not really your conclusion, but in a way, maybe, just a bit maybe, it is something that will bring you your breakthrough. Because something that crushes you, maybe it meant to crush you to bring you it's meant to crush you to bring you to your breakthrough, right? So for me, about 3 years ago, I was I received a blessing and a curse, if I can put it like that. I received a blessing and a curse. God blessed me with the ability and the probability of being a father at a very young and tender age. About 3 years ago, I think I was 18. Yes, God blessed me with the possibility of becoming a father. I think anybody can relate to that fact that as a young kid, as a young adult, that's something you can never really say you're ready for. So I was at that point when I got the news that I'm gonna be a father. I was at the point with the, how am I gonna do it? Will I be able to do it? What kind of a father will I be? And looking at the male figure in my life, I lost both my parents at a very young age. I lost both my parents and I was still in primary. So looking at that, I was like, how am I gonna do it? How am I gonna be a father? But then for me, I took that as a curse in a way, but it was also a blessing because a kid is always a blessing. So my girlfriend and I, we had all of these things where finally it started being really, really bad at first, very, very bad, because we had to do everything on ourselves. We were so hesitant to tell our parents. So everything was on us. So you can imagine, I'm a student, we both students, and we're expecting a baby. Obviously, our academic performances will have a shift, like a big shift. And that big shift resulted to both of us losing our funding. So we both lost funding. We both had bursaries and we lost our bursaries. So at that point, our parents doesn't know. Both our parents don't know. So as a man, I have to take care of me. I have to take care of her, and I have to take care of this unborn baby. So it crushed me, and I had to take all of these things in. But then, as a man, you have to adapt to all of those things, and I did adapt, luckily, until to a certain point where I got crushed. 15 days, exactly 15 days before labor. So my girlfriend carried my son over 8 months, right? So exactly 15 days before labor, I actually found out that my son is normal, right? So to me, it is, why all the torture, right? Why all the torture? Why didn't it happen at least maybe in the first month, right? Then I'll adapt. Why did we have to go through all of this? Why me? Why the torture? Why go through all of this? Why didn't it happen sooner? So I had all of these questions that kept on crushing me. And at that point we had taught the family, so they had adapted to the whole idea that we are expecting a baby. But then now, while everything is starting to like lighten up, God has to do this. So I had all of these things like, why me? Why now? And then it crushed me. And in a black populace, there is nothing called depression, and I can't really stress it out enough. In a black populace, there's nothing called depression. So at that point for me, I was so depressed to an extent that I had suicidal thoughts. I would wake up around 2 a.m. in the morning, and I would walk outside at 2 a.m. in the morning. I walk outside because I had all of these things, all of these thoughts in my head, and I was like, but why me and why now? So I started having these conversations with God when I woke up, when I walk at night. I'll have these conversations with God. I'll always stay alone, and I was so depressed, and I had suicidal thoughts. I remember I wrote about a very, very long essay to my family, and I was telling them, no, now this is the time. I really, really can't take this anymore. I really can't stomach this anymore. I really, really have to escape. So it's got really, really complicated at that. But then I came across a book. It's called Ngaba, Grief and Hope. So this man, Tulane Gumede, is writing a book about Ngaba is his son, is the name of his son. So he's writing a book about his son, whom he has just lost. His son was about, I'm not sure if it was 6 months or 3 months old, and then he has just lost him. So he's writing this book, and he's explaining. He had a lot of concepts explaining the journey to actually receiving his son and everything. But then one of those chapters was when he explained was when we were intercepted with the word, and he said that the title says letters to God, right? And when I was reading the chapter, I was like, huh? Somebody write letters to God, but okay, let me just dive in and see. So when I started reading and going into depth of it, I was like, so somebody is going through almost the same thing that I was going through, and then these letters that I was writing to God, I could relate to them on a personal level, and that book is the reason why maybe even today I'm here with you guys, because at that point I was at the verge of breaking up. I was like, I had hit rock bottom. I was ready to take my life away. I was ready for anything. So at that point, after reading that book, I knew from right there that I still have a chance. These things, these words, this message that he directed to God, I remember myself directing the exact same words to God, and I was like, so if people went through the same things and then they adapted and they lived, why can't I? Right now, the guy has like three kids and is living a good life. Like, if they can go through that and survive it, then I can also go through that. And it was a book that changed my life. If I had not read that book, maybe today I wouldn't be here. Maybe I would have taken my life a long time ago. But because of that book, I'm still here. So that's emphasis I want to say to you, that today, that the ink really helps. The fact that we're writing stuff down, we're writing things down. This one guy said we cannot make all the mistakes for ourselves. Some of the mistakes we have to learn from the others, right? So this my book is not entirely about me. It's not entirely about me overcoming all of the things that I've overcome. It's about, like I said in the beginning of this, I've had like all of many business ventures. So it's not just about overcoming life, it's about overcoming anything that you can come across, especially from a disadvantaged background. Anything you can come across, it tells you that you can really, really overcome it. Your condition is not your conclusion. Whatever you see in your mind, you attract it. And as you work towards it, you can actually grasp it in the real world, right? So that's it for me. That's the book for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sibusiso, for
Very
sharing
nice.
us that very inspiring story with us. And I'm sure many of y'all listening would be able to relate to what he said. And sometimes I know from I've also been in facilities, and during my 10 years of trying to overcome my trauma, that men actually have a lot of men have a lot of greater difficulties trying to express themselves and seek help from others, because it's also I've found through conversations with others that they don't want to admit that being a man, I'm having difficulties. So basically, so the greatest admiration goes out to you for sharing that with us. And I just wanted to share something that, I'd still love to hear some questions over the chat and some of your comments. But, even from a spiritual perspective, they always say that when you exert negativity or when you're at your lowest point, that is when people around you can actually sense that negativity through your aura and through your vibes. And they actually stay away. And that is very true. I mean, I'm not really speaking from a spiritual perspective at all, but I will speak from my own personal perspective, in that when I was at the lowest point in my life, I found that nobody wanted to be my friend. Nobody wanted to talk to me because, as I said, I had been diagnosed with epilepsy and I had a faulty brain. And you know what? They are staying far away. And now that, over the 20 years in which I had to endure all this struggle, I have now I've been invited, and I have my own radio show. I'm a motivational speaker. I've released a novel. I've managed to build myself up to a certain platform. Everybody wants to know you. Everybody wants to talk to you. And, unfortunately, that is the truth of the matter. But what my point is, many of you, when you're at a point when you are at a low and you find that you don't have someone to talk to, and maybe you don't have the finances to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist, what again we're trying to say is the book is always there. Even if you don't know what to write in terms of expressing yourself, in terms of getting out that anger and that frustration, the book is someone that those words on paper actually talk to you and take you to that escapism that you need when you are at that point when you are really, really low. And when we are growing up, I'll always say that the stories that we treasure are those stories of Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy, and all those traditional tales, Aesop's fables, etc. And those are the things that inspired us with moral values. And where do all those moral values come from? All those moral values come from stories that were written. So basically, stories talk so much more than we realize. So something else I want to bring to your attention is Sarita, in her journey, she also came up with a beautiful acronym. And I think it was quite genius of her. So I'd like Sarita to take over and tell us a little bit about the acronym you came up with during your experience.
Okay, thanks, Shan Lee. The acronym which I coined was called MONEY, MONEY. My own natural energy yields a given treasure, a heart full of treasure and delight, happiness emanating from yourself to show you your goal and reach it, fulfill yourself and the world around you with abundance. For that abundance, which is money, does not come from the outside world, but it comes from deep within you. That feeling of abundance, which you must give to yourself through visualization, through your writing, and through your belief in who you are. So do not look for abundance outside yourself. Don't think of money as just being out there in terms of a coin or a note, but think of that abundance which is deep within you and attract it to yourself with thought, belief, and emotion. Because whenever you think in a detached manner, then nothing really changes in your life. But when you think and think, all the other people, all the speakers have spoken about the emotion they felt through. And whatever emotion you feel attracts more and more of the same. So when you think negatively, then more and more negativity comes to you. You just feel cowed down with negativity. But when you think positively, then you get more and more positivity into your life. So that emotion is what attracts negativity into your life. That emotion is what attracts positivity into your life. And that positivity is abundance. So don't look for money outside yourself. Think with gratitude that MONEY is within you. And that abundance will be attracted to you with your emotions. So just visualize and always think with gratitude, and then you will attract that feeling of abundance within you.
Sorry,
and you will attract more of your.
Can you repeat the acronym, please?
It's MONEY.
Yeah. What is
My own natural energy yields.
Energy.
Yields. So it's that within yourself you have the money.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Sarita. You know, I mean, I just absolutely love the way you put it. And I couldn't say it better myself. And I think that is something that all of us can think about and definitely apply within to our own lives. And I still don't see any questions or comments. So please do share your questions or comments as to the angle at which we are approaching, you know, actually attaining a more balanced lifestyle, because this is something that you don't often hear at wellness conferences or motivational talks. Well, it was something that I had never heard during my journey of trying to find myself. So I think many of you would find it very interesting. So if you are thinking it's a bit strange, we would also like to know that if how you all feel about it. So yeah, Desiree, I'd like to just hand over to you again, because there's a lot more that I know about your other works and how you approach counseling and how you then take what you write and how you use the writing in your counseling, because you are a professional counselor as well.
I think that everybody should be in therapy, quite frankly, because I remember when I was writing my memoir, I'd have recollections or have memories, and I'd write a chapter about something incredibly traumatic, which would lead me to feeling wholly depressed. And I would take the entire chapter to my therapist and I'd go like, we're doing this today, you know, and processing that. But unfortunately, not everybody has access or has the resources to go to therapy. And I've found that, in my practice, I found that writing helps people to process events. And quite often I encourage people to write because they perhaps it's too raw for them to write about it in the first person. I often encourage my clients to write a story in the third person about whatever incident has happened or whatever they're going through. And I use that advice on myself in terms of if something's happening in my life, I take it to the page, and I find that if I detach myself from it in a certain way by writing a third person story, it's easier for me to digest, digest what the reality of what is actually happening to me. And it can be incredibly painful, I won't lie. When I wrote my memoir, and if I don't know if some of you have read it or some, but it's not for the faint-hearted. It's been called quite brutal, quite honest, quite raw, and because it covers universal themes of dysfunction and abuse and trauma and addiction and mental health issues and struggles in life and toxic relationships and lots of trauma. But ultimately it is, though I must add, a story of hope, because here I am, you know. And my life looks completely different to what it did. And it's interesting what you said, Shan, about feeling alienated when you're at your rock bottom, or we call it in the recovery field sometimes your turning point. And my rock bottom, I mean, I was an intravenous heroin addict, and I was lying to people, and I was like robbing them and defrauding them, and eventually my rock bottom, well, the start of my rock bottom was becoming a sex worker, and that brought with it so much shame, because I was also keeping everything a secret and trying to live a double life. And writing about, so years later, at that time I had no one, no one wanted to touch me with a 10-foot barge pole, because I was toxic and I was poisonous and I was probably contagious. And having to, years later, I felt, this legacy that had been passed on to me about keeping things a secret, and you don't talk outside the house, and like Sibusiso was saying, and it's not just in Black cultures, it's in all cultures. It's like psychiatry is looked at like we don't go to psychiatrists, we don't go to psychologists, it's like we just, I don't know, we pretend it's either not happening, or we try and deal with it in completely destructive and self-defeating ways. And so when it came to the writing of my book, it did take me to very painful places, I must say. It's like there were times when I was like, okay, I can't actually get out of bed today because I was writing about these things that were so shameful. But I felt compelled, absolutely compelled, to break the painful patterns of the past and to break that legacy that was passed on to me, and to speak my truth, and I opened up a can of worms, and yep, there were worms everywhere, and not everybody was happy about it, because they're still subscribed to the old a mantra of we don't talk about it ever. So in my practice, as well as in my life, I try to encourage and inspire and move people forward towards authenticity in their lives. And I think writing can do that. you can claim your authentic self, you can find your authentic voice, you can speak that truth, you can write that truth. And no one can argue about it, because it's your truth. And you can own that, and you can be that queen, and you can, be that king, and say that this is my story. And so that's what I also do in my practice, is encourage people to, just write their stories, write their truths, and connect with that. And it's interesting for me to watch how the shame disintegrates, and the other mantra I have is that there is hope always, because I believe, like Sibusiso says, is that, there is probably there's nothing that cannot be overcome, no matter how painful, there is always hope. And that's also what I instill in my practice, is that, authenticity and hope.
Thank you for that, Desiree. And, all of us who are here participating will definitely, seek different types of books. And the books that all of us have written are very different. Sarita's being poetry and a little bit about her journey. Desiree's being about what she experienced. And Sibusiso is being motivational about his different experiences. And mine's being completely fictional. But what we're trying to say is, you don't need to always seek a book that is a motivational book. For example, for me, when I wanted motivation, for some reason, I didn't want to read a motivational book, because I was of the opinion that, why is this normal? Am I just supposed to? Is everybody having obstacles, and is this it? And I just rebelled against these things for strange reasons. I don't know. My mind was just overworking. But books, whatever the type of book it was that you always liked when you were younger, when you could last retrace those happy moments. And that is when I said I retraced it to my childhood and the happy stories about the hare and the tortoise and the moral values that you'd learned from it. And the days when your parents would tell you life is wonderful, life is full of hope, you can achieve anything, there are miracles out there, and nothing is impossible. And that is the truth, and that is something that none of us should stop believing in, because nothing is impossible if you really set your heart to it. But along the way, as we progress in life, as we get older, as maybe we find out that, okay, really Santa Claus is not climbing down the chimney, or certain stories that we heard are not factual, we start letting things influence us. We start letting things at the office influence us, and we forget those happy places, those happy moments that we knew as a child. So for me, fiction worked for me. For you, it may be a motivational story. For you, it may also just be expressing it. As I know, many people have also told me that they can't sleep at night because they have sleep problems. But when they wake up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, like Sibusiso said, initially he used to walk on the street at 2 o'clock in the morning, but then he started, trying to, it's almost like a type of meditation to have conversations with God. If you wake up at that time and you find yourself lost, instead of crying, or you can express yourself, express how you're feeling. And now, as I look back at all these books, and I've got piles and piles of books of things I've written over the years, I'm amazed at how I felt. And those feelings I was able to put into fictional stories. And it then able to help me to heal. At that time, I didn't want to heal 10 years ago, but now I'm ready. And now when I read what I was feeling then, I am able to heal even better. So Sibusiso, I just want to hand back over to you.
Yes. Thank you. I see your comment. Thank you so much. I just want to add on something, especially to the current generation of our time. The fact that our generation, we are, how do I put it? we are a generation that is not informed, right? We're a generation that is not informed. And if by any chance we are informed, we get to be misinformed, right? We are a generation that is not informed. And if we are informed, we are often misinformed. So for me, I think Shan touched on that I started my own organization, the ESSA movement. The sole aim around that was to actually change the narrative, was actually to, if you get to be informed, get informed about the right things, right? We trying to bridge this information gap that we have, and correctly informing the not informed and the misinformed society populace at large. Because and our motto in our organization is like, the little steps every day are getting closer to the goal than none, right? So it matters more what you do every day, like in terms of depression and stuff. You cannot just say, I've done this and now I'm not depressed. It is impossible. You're lying to yourself. Odds are one day it will always come back, because it doesn't really just goes away, but you learn to live with it. Make sense? It doesn't go away, but you learn to live with it. So for me, being where I am now, and looking at where I come from on a personal level, like emotionally, I can say books really help me a lot. I read almost every day. I have a principle. My principle is, every morning when I wake up, I must read. Even if it's just one chapter, even if it's just one page. But every morning, before I start my day, every morning when I wake up, I must read. Every night when I go to sleep, I must reflect on everything that I've done. And then I must take maybe one chapter, or maybe one page. And for me, it helps me. It helps me to get in touch with the inner me, with the core me that has indulged, that has endured all of this pain. Because for me, where I am today, I am proud, and I'm really, really grateful to the ink, because it is I can't really stress this enough, but it is the ink that has brought me here. That's why I started writing this book. That's why I do public speaking. That's why I get the word out there, because it's changed my life. It helped me. So I'm trying right now, if by any chance that I can, I'm trying to liberate and then help somebody else who can reach.
Okay, I think that very much relates to SG's question about how to journal. But I'm going to ask Priscilla Desiree, if you can please read out the questions, because my questions keep disappearing from my chat box for some strange reason, for the outstanding questions that are in the chat.
They're just comments in the
I
chat
know
box at the
SG
moment.
had a question about journaling.
I can't see it.
Oh, okay. I think she wanted to know about what SG wanted to know about sometimes when you're having difficulties writing daily, what motivates others to journal, or is it just a love to write? How do you remain consistent with your writing?
Can I answer to that?
Yes, go ahead.
So sorry, Sarita, I'll be brief.
No, you answer, and then I'll also talk.
Okay.
Don't be brief. Don't be brief.
I don't believe that that writing needs to be work. Okay, I do believe that if it's a passion of yours, and you do need to be dedicated, and you do need to be you need to be self-disciplined if you're writing a book, for example. But in terms of journaling, it needs to, like, I do a lot of free writing if I don't have anything constructive to write. So I just write whatever thoughts are in my head. I just do a lot of free writing in the morning or in the evening, just to like purge all the stuff from my brain. And but it is a habit that I believe that you need to form, but you don't need to be punitive with yourself if you like miss a day. It's okay. The world won't come to an end, you know. But what motivates me to write is just that it is so helpful for me to quite literally move all of this, because I'm quite an obsessive thinker. I have quite a handful, a basket full of mental health issues. So my brain is always full with ADHD and obsessive thinking. So it's to move it, to move it's because the words are energy to me, and to move that energy from one place to the page is just such an amazingly cathartic experience for me. And so, which is why I do it, because if you don't derive pleasure from something, why the hell would you do it? You know.
I think
So yeah.
no, I think
So
when you're talking about rising consistency, that's very much when you want to be a writer as a career, or that's when you really need to focus on times when you write and how often you're going to write. But basically, what are key points that we wanted to put across today, and I think that we've managed to, I think all of you from your comments have seen our perspective of it, is that just expressing yourself on paper or turning to books when you have nobody else to talk to can do so much. So if you, as Desiree said, when you don't feel the need to write, and if it's not helping you, then you don't need to. But when you feel that you need that anger or negativity or that frustration, when you feel you need to get it out, that is the key point in time where you need to just pick up the pen and just write everything down, whether it's nonsense or not nonsense. You'll find in time that you feel better. A lot of the time it will be nonsense, but it's a better way of getting out that extreme anger and frustration that so many of us experience, especially in the workplace and into today's society, and with the obstacles such as COVID that we've experienced. Well, we almost reached the end of the
What
hour.
I also wanted to add on here was that what Desiree said, but my practice of writing when I had that depression was every morning I would get up, I had plain sheets of paper and I would just write. So whatever was in my mind, I'd keep writing. So even if the person who wants to start writing doesn't have anything much to write about, if you just say that in the morning you'll get up, don't have lined paper, but just plain sheets of unlined paper, and just keep writing. And then thoughts will start coming into your mind. And if nothing else, you'll clear the negativity from your heart. And then slowly you will start appreciating the world around you. And so write all the time. Write when you're happy, write when you're sad. And then it'll become a practice, and you'll soon find that you're moving around with a notebook in your hand, with a pen in your hand, and you'll just keep writing all the time.
Okay. Well, we are nearly reaching our 1 hour. So I'd like to thank all of you for coming and joining us. And I hope this new perspective of attaining a more balanced lifestyle has really been something that you all can think about and look into further, because it's definitely not something that's often spoken about. So it has been a privilege to be invited to be guests on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference. And thank you so much for having all of us. And from Sarita, Desiree-Anne Martin, and Mazibuko, and myself, Shan Lee, goodbye. Thank you. All the best. Lots of love. And may you all take care, and good luck and best wishes to all of you for the future, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Take care.
thank you very much, Shan. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.